about that.
All right.
And let's do it
right now. We're live now.
Yeah, it looks very live.
Okay, let's have a look here. And here we are for the very first of the Hobie Fishing World's live streams. Good morning to you all. We trust everyone can hear me. If some of you guys give me a big thumbs up in some of the chat windows out there so we know we got a bit of volume, that would be pretty cool. And I'd like to introduce some guests that we've got here who've managed to hop in. We've got Chris Purnell from Hobie Asia Pacific, Hobie Fishing. And he'll be here talking about all things related to what's going on with the remainder of the 2020 series for the event and also for the qualifying for Hobie Fishing World's number 10. We've got Steve Morgan from ABT, Brim, Barra, and Bass, also from Fishing Monthly Magazine. He's going to give us a hand making sure that if I fall over, he can pick me back up. There it is, Fishing Monthly Magazine. And we also have a guest, a late ring in, is Yarrow Freebie from Hobie Kayak Europe. It's midnight there. He did have a bottle of vodka, so I think he's awake. I'm not quite sure. Yes, indeed. Looking pretty good. And last but not least is the current Hobie Fishing World Champion, Mr. Andrew D. Good morning to you all. How are you?
Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Good morning. That sounds good. All right, now we'll get things going here. Obviously, we had a couple roll-ins to keep the sponsors happy with some banners and stuff. We'll start off with Chris Purnell. Now, Chris, ever since I left, there's a lot that's been going right over there. I mean, you've had the fires, you've had the floods, then you've had COVID, and then you've got Victorians doing crazy things down at the border and traveling there. Now, you've been able to structure a little bit of the comp for the rest of the year, kind of give everyone an idea of what's going on and where they're going to end up fishing this locations and the time of year and how things are all going to pan into, Angle of the Year and Hobie Fishing World's 10.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. And Steve, thanks very much for putting all of this together for everyone. I think the culmination of being able to bring us all together and I guess bring a different perspective to what we kind of hear within our industry, here around the traps, and there's rumours here and this here and that there. So I think this should hopefully clear things up for a lot of the guys and girls that are vested in what we do. So, but look, as you said, the world has gone crazy. It's fallen apart. We didn't realise that you kind of stuck all of this together. You kind of exited and everything just fell over. I don't know, mate. I was saying to one of our other counterparts in the USA recently, I promise you guys that I'm not the bad luck omen. I don't know how else to say it. But look, there's no probably easy way to try and necessarily restructure certain things. But I think with the team here and obviously having a bit of a chat to yourself and a few of the other guys in the industry, we wanted to try and bring together, some sort of platform to round out the end of season or Series 12. That did mean bringing in around into August, which we have notified everybody of now. It will be back on the Gold Coast for that all favourite location for you, Deethy, obviously. From Hobie Kayak Fishing World's 8, it's Morgo's backyard. We will definitely see that time of year. I mean, the spawn run, and I think, Morgo, you'll probably say, look, they've probably had their quick run, and I guess, look, they're going to be everywhere. So it's probably not likely to be an absolute go-to location where you've been before and done something. You're really going to have to try and mix things up. So, we're really looking forward to getting back up on the Gold Coast. And I guess with the way that the Queensland state government has allowed that exit and entry in and out of the state, it's going to work brilliantly. I've been in and out a few times myself, which we were just talking about before. So Gold Coast 22nd and 23rd of August is what everybody can expect for that one. Moving back into the September and October, those two events that we've got there for Foster and St George's Basin will remain as planned. Everything that we've got on the calendar at the moment by ways of speaking with the relevant authorities, local councils and the like, everything seems to be really, really good. So, despite what has been a pretty rough few months, all of these municipalities, localities, councils and the like, everybody seems to be on board. So, we're really looking forward to making that right. Albany will obviously get a start in October as well. They're in the early part of October, 3rd and 4th. So the guys over in WA, speaking with Alex over there, I know that they're absolutely chomping at the bit to get a Hobie round run over in WA. So, we're really looking forward to seeing those guys perform some really good results over there. And probably too, as a result of what we'll do for the overall qualification process, is that we'll probably see a few of the South Australians, New South Welshmen, Queenslanders, and dare I say those Victorians down there at the moment. If they get a few things sort of organised down there, I think that could work well. We'll actually see the likes of I think Prikey went over there last year and got a great result. So that's something that will round out the balance end of that year. With respect to an Australian Championships or end of year event, we're still working through some of the finer details in that space. Just what we need to do by ways of a qualification for that, as well as the overall format of it. But it will be different. Let me say here and now that it's going to be different to what we've traditionally known. It's not going to be exactly the same format. So we're pretty excited about it, quite frankly. And I think the dollars and cents out of this one is going to be a little bit different. And I think that what we will eventually show in the next maybe couple of weeks is actually going to be a really, really exciting platform for everybody to jump on and get involved in. So that will be an event that will be held in November, is our intention at this point in time. It will round out season 12, and it will have an impact on both your end of year result for AOY and also Hobie Kayak Fishing World's 10 qualifications. So if that's just a little bit of information for everyone right now, we'll happily go into some more detail. But other than that, we are absolutely chomping at the bit to get started back on Series 12, that's for sure.
That sounds really good, Chris. I looked at some of the dates, and some are going to be pretty easy. And like you said, that one in Queensland in August, that's going to be a little bit different. Likewise, again, the basin in October. Hopefully it's late enough in the season for the basin. And if you don't get, say, too much rain towards that first part of October, it should be good. But as I've always said, someone's going to win, and at least you've got some dates on the calendar. I know I get messages from all these different anglers out there, and everyone is absolutely trying to go. I think Richard Potter bought a new kayak to go tournament fishing, and he hasn't used it yet. So,
he's got it. It's Richard's fault.
Well, with that, if you guys are, Potter carts sit still at the bloody best of times. So, I really feel for some of these guys. And look, let it be known to everybody out there, there's no script for this. This is uncharted territory. Morgo, you've been in the thick of it. All of the other tournament directors have been in the thick of this. I can't possibly understand how the core guys in Victoria are feeling right now. We all just want to go and have a fish. We all know how to do it responsibly. We will obviously follow all of the guidelines that are in place. And I really want the team, both the anglers and obviously us as, tournament organisers, we will set a benchmark for the rest of the way that we will move through this post-COVID. And a lot of these things will basically just stay implemented in the way that it'll become our new norm. So, I think we've got a pretty good system in place. There's been a lot of hard work go into it. And I just wanted to thank all of the people that are involved with it so far, that we really appreciate your patience. I know it's not easy, but, the team here want to get going, and we want to get going with everyone safely. So it's not too far away.
Sounds good. Now, I noticed that one of the comments that we talked about the other day is, I think Bob Finlay had a little bit to do with it, about writing some guidelines. Obviously, you took what the government said and you kind of tweaked it a little bit more. And I believe you're saying before that some of the governments are saying these are what they're going to say. Hey, if you're going to run a competition, I guess what I'm trying to get in here is, I guess anglers really have one chance to get this right if they want to keep fishing. And you don't want to see a situation like you got now, where things in Australia are looking pretty good, borders were opening up, and then things go pear-shaped, and now Victoria's closed for 6 weeks. Now, fortunately, all the rounds I think Steve's doing are up to the north, and likewise here. But it could have been another time of year, which would absolutely, just put the brakes on the tournament altogether. But I tell you, big hats off to obviously Steve Morgan and to you as well, is getting these things together. It's pretty easy to walk away and say, you know what, this is too hard. I'm going to do other things. I've got a business to run. A lot of the shops are struggling for doing advertising. They're still doing sales, but there's a lot of business sense out there. And running tournaments is something that's a little bit extra. It also is part of our business, but, that's kind of my take on it this way. So, Steve, you kind of agree with some of that?
Yeah, it's hard to give up running tournaments. It's sort of really in the DNA of what we do at Fishing Monthly and ABT. We started the tournaments about 20 years ago to help develop the industry, and it's not like the industry doesn't need developing now. It probably needs a bit of focus more than ever, because people have been locked down, they've been fishing by themselves. What I've learned through COVID is that humans are pretty social creatures. Even going fishing's great, but going and catching up with your mates that you haven't seen for 6 months is pretty important for the not just the male psyche, but for, I think, all human beings' psyche. So we're lucky in ABT. As you said, we got our Tasmanian and our Victorian rounds out of the way pre-COVID. I know when we were coming back from Tassie, it was just starting to ramp up in Australia. So Steve, you're right. We were able to actually resume our tournaments now. We have an event at Hinns Dam, the Bass Electric, this weekend. We have a Wyvenhoe Bass Pro in southeast Queensland and a Bribey Brim round in 3 weeks. And, the sense from the anglers has been just of relief. It's like, great, we can get back on the water again. Luckily for us, when we run tournaments, we only have a couple of points where people come together. And this is both for the Hobie events and the powerboat events, at the start and at the weigh-ins. And so long as we do our proper COVID planning, and I'm sure, Chris, you've seen the onerous COVID plans that we have to make. They're all common sense, and they're all quite easy for us to implement, because, it is common sense, Don't go and lick each other at the weigh-ins. Wash your hands. We really only have one point of contact. And luckily, with ABT, we already have an app in place. And if we have to, hey, we can do a tournament where anglers don't get within 100 metres of each other, let alone have a weigh-in. So I think our strength in fishing is the fact that we all love doing it so much, but the fact that we're very flexible, and our anglers are very forgiving if we want to change a tournament format. If we want to change a qualification process, a tournament format, they're so grateful that we can do something. They're going to say, yep, whatever we have to do, we'll do it. So thank you very much to the anglers and the sponsors for sticking with us, because we want to get this thing back on the road.
Sounds good. Hey, Chris, the question on your end of the year event, is it going to be, obviously you'll have a qualifying through these different rounds. Is that how you're going to get into it? Is there any details so some of these anglers can find out, what they're doing?
Yeah, look, Steve, it's certainly a very pertinent question. The guys that we began the season with in particular, I think first round down there at Brim, obviously everyone went into that tournament with the understanding of what the season was going to entail. This is how you get into this. This is how you qualify for that. We want to maintain that first round in particular, obviously for the likes of Nick Mace and Jason Dean and the guys that are sort of in that top end of the field in that first 5. We will have, I guess, otherwise an automatic qualification for them for what this end of year event is. We've bounced around a couple of different ideas, whether we just run it like an AC so that you do your round results that get us there. But because of the limited number of rounds, we are going to change that format up a little bit. It will be a different scenario to what the ACs are. On the most part, just, I guess, throwing it out there, it's likely to be a bring your own. So bring your own kayak along for the event so that we can maybe try and make that a little bit easier. We will have some fly-in options for those guys that make it through what that process is going to be, so that there will be a couple of event boats there that'll be accessible for these guys. So, you don't think that you've got to be from South Australia or WA and bring all your own gear over. But most importantly, and I think some of the things, Steve, that we've sort of touched on, there's going to be a really, really, really important reason to be at every available round, for the balance of this season with respect to Hobie Kayak Fishing Worlds number 10. We want to release the absolute details on that in a couple of weeks' time. But in between, that end of year event is going to be a different format that we haven't done before as part of the Hobie Kayak Fishing series. I think it's going to be a really exciting format, and it's definitely going to, let's just say it's going to be a very, very significant payday for those involved.
Because I looked at the BIM round that's in there, and I tell you what, that top 10 are a lot of anglers that are new. They're not new names, but they're new to the top part of the field. I mean, you're looking down, you got Mace, Jason Dean, Richard Patterson, Tom McLean, Mark Young, Dylan Pace, David Shanahan, Brad Clark, Jason Meach, and Patrick Wilson. So you don't see some of the Simon Morleys and the Petties and all those guys, and that's a very crucial round if some of this is going to draw into the big event towards the end, which is going to kind of accumulate all the way into the end of the season, and also making up that Australian team for Hobie Fishing Worlds 10. Yeah. Steve, if you can highlight again your rounds of when they start and the locations again, and what kind of numbers do you think you're going to get on all these rounds? Because that's still the unknown right now. Chris, have you opened up entries for your other rounds yet?
No, mate. What we want to try and do there is, I think part of the chat that we had, we will run through when we do the final announcement for what is going to be, I guess, the August, September, October events. So I would say if everyone can sit tight maybe until, if I bring this calendar up, it's going to be somewhere in the vicinity of the week of the 20th of this month. We'll give a final announcement of absolutely everything, what every piece of qualification means, what the end of year event is going to be, how you get there. So yeah, look, sit tight for the week of the 20th, everyone. Steve and I are otherwise 99% finalised that we just want to basically roll that into another major announcement in around 2 weeks' time.
Sounds good. We'll go over to Morgo and talk about what he's doing for the rest of this season and in his grand finals and things.
Yeah, Steve, we've been pretty lucky. We've only missed, I think, 2 or 3 Bass Pro event qualifiers, and I think only 2 Brim qualifiers and 1 Brim Australian Open. So we've rescheduled the Brim Australian Open, which is a really popular event, especially from the coverage point of view. We've rescheduled that to straight after the grand final. So we do our Brim grand final in Port Stephens and then roll straight into Sydney, which is about 2 hours down the road. And because the Open's a midweek event, it fit in really well. There's a couple of Bass Pro qualifiers we haven't got time to reschedule, but we have Wyve and Hodam coming up in a few weeks, and then Somerset, and then a grand final at Caney. So for us, we don't have to really change anything. Like, people can qualify by winning those events, but otherwise it goes back to an AOY style system. We have 3 events there. we will get a field of 30 boaters, and non-boaters will give away a great bluefin boat and Mercury motor at that grand final. The Brim is the same. It's instead of 9 qualifiers, it's 7 qualifiers. We're going to have a great grand final. And that'll be down at Port Stephens, again, giving away a boat. And then the Bass Electric's the first one to kick off. Interestingly, in our dealings with SEQ Water, who manage Hin's Dam behind the Gold Coast, they've capped us to the number of car parks, sort of like happens in the Hobie event sometimes. First time we've ever had a capped event. I think I've only got room for 2 or 3 more boats in that event, and that event happens Sunday. So from a participation point of view, I'm dealing with a lot of the anglers, very, very keen to get back. A lot of Sydney guys coming to fish the Ballina and the even guys coming up to fish the Gladstone rounds. It's a solid drive from Brisbane to Gladstone. It's probably close to 16 hours, but the quality of fishing's there and the appetite to go tournament fishing is right there. Our Barra tour and all of our Barra events are all Queensland based, and we've always talked about this. Even if Queensland was locked down, but we could travel within Queensland, those events would happen because they're mainly populated by Queenslanders anyway. And just a hint for anyone that hasn't done a Barra event, man, I look forward to it as much as anything else during the year, because when you're rolling a swim bait through and a metre-long Barra chuffs it, there is nothing in the world like it. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to it right now. I've got my gear ready already.
I did a photo shoot with Mal Gray and Rob Paxavanis, and that was my first hookup into Barra. I tell you what, once you hear that first boof and hookup, you're hooked, and it's an amazing thing. So looking forward to that. That'll be good.
Yep.
Well, hooking to Jero now. Let's have a look here. And Jero, how are you, mate? Thanks for staying up late. And you're having a really difficult time with the COVID, obviously in different locations. Sweden did their own thing. Kids are back at school. They never knocked down. But it really looks like we talked about the other day, flights have now opened up and people can travel for essential business stuff. I can't see anything flying out of Australia till the end of the year at best. So I really think it'll be in the new year before a lot of internationals be headed to Europe. But Spain seems to be opening up. Italy. What is your plans now for the rest of 2020 to get some of these comps in? I believe something just happened. Did Ian Harris run an event just recently?
No, not yet. We're talking about the UK. Several events are planned and were planned. Pretty much everything we had planned for the year is not canceled but postponed. We had the European Championships planned to be in Italy. And we decided in around, I think, mid of May that we postpone the event to next year to 21, which is kind of a shame because it's our first bass event in Europe, and we had within 48 hours we had more than 100 entries, which is quite good for a European event. So, but it doesn't mean that we don't run it. We just do it a year later now. We're talking about the more local events like in the UK. I think we're going to have just talk this afternoon to David Harris, to David, and he runs the UK events. He's looking into having 3 or 4 more events by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Then going back to Italy, we have a local qualifier for HFW 9 in hopefully end of October. The permission, we're waiting for the permission for local authorities. It's a lake north of Rome. But it should be fine, according to Federico, who's a local dealer and the local tournament director in Italy. He said it's going to work out, and we have at least 20 guys participating in the Italian event by the end of October, so that should be all right. We probably don't see internationals flying into Italy to fish those events, but as long as we stay local, or the Italians can fish an event, that's pretty straightforward and good. Sweden did a little bit, their own thing, but
I'll say all the different government organizations.
I don't want to go into politics. We're talking about fishing events. But here's one interesting thing. As Steve said earlier, something human beings is special or a social creature, and we did a poll in Sweden with 40 anglers, and 39 out of 40 anglers said, yeah, we want to fish on the same lake, and we want to hang out together as far as we're allowed to. As long as we abide to local measurements, we're okay to do that. We want to hang out together, fish the same lake instead of fishing all over the place and do it only digitally. So we look into, mid of August, we have an event in Sweden, which brings us pretty much back to a physical event, which is pretty interesting to see and good to see.
Where are you going to have the event in Sweden?
It's a lake called Grom.
Yeah.
That's pretty much centered west of Stockholm. What's that? 3 hours west of Stockholm, pretty much centered.
Yeah, you guys have pretty much did the same thing we did on the postponement. I think we're into our third postponement for Hobie Fishing Worlds 9. I think we teed up together on the postponement of the Europeans in Italy as well as Amal. The nice thing about the last postponement was it was going to be in August, and then the problem is you got very, very big fish, but they're very, very deep down, and they're pretty much a pain in the ass to catch. So by moving this back into that May period, I think we're within a 1 week window of when we were last time in Amal, which was just, basically they were between 100 meters from the starting line. They were triple hookups on, something between 700 and meter pike from the get-go. I remember Rusty from Carico Pursuit Channel. He had all his filming done in 10 minutes. He says, I don't need to film anymore. And, we wasted no fuel. So we're really looking forward to going back there. I know Amal has been pretty happy to do it, but I think Europe, it's good to see you guys going fishing again. And I think it's really going to make a difference of trying to get this qualified series, keep things in check for the Hobie Fishing Worlds 10, which we're still playing on a couple of different locations right now. Obviously, like you guys trying to work on locations for a regional event, I'm facing the same thing on an international level because of one is the people flying to and from. I can't imagine people are going to open their doors to a group of 15 Chinese flying into the region right away. I think there's some hurdles to overcome. Or likewise, again, from Italy or from Australia or wherever it is. I know there's some restrictions from the USA is banned from flying into Europe because of the COVID increases, mainly in California and Chicago, and obviously here, Florida, where I'm from. So there's a lot of things. And the other thing we found is the sponsorship dollars are just basically evaporated because they've all had to lay off people. They've had to shut down unless you're in the water sports industry, which seems to be the booming industry right now as far as sales go. I mean, outboard motors, boats, kayaks, they can't build enough of them right now. Those things are pretty good, but everyone else are saying, no, I've got to take care of business. So that's going to be a very difficult one all the way through. I think it's going to filter down perhaps next year into obviously the United States and perhaps into Australia on these sponsors and see how they are. You're pretty in touch with the marine industry in Australia, Steve. I see here in Australia that Bass Pro, they can't keep them in stock. The marine shop down the road from me, they're selling 20 to 30 boats a week. Our kayak dealers, we're sold out already for August, and there's just our parts. We're probably a month behind on parts. What's the marine industry like as a whole right now in Australia? You've got a different circumstance. We're open and fishing, but you guys are kind of a little bit shut.
It's been awesome, actually. We had a real drop-off in everything in sort of March, April, around Easter time. Everyone went quiet, and then everyone was, hanging from the neck. It's going to be terrible. But the recovery was just as steep as the fall-off. Most boat manufacturers are 3 to 6 months out in their wait list to build boats. Outboards can be hard to get because of two things: difficulty in international freight transport, but also demand here. And fishing tackle shops have said sometimes they've had every week since Easter's been like Christmas time. So it's a real positive for our industry that a lot of people who haven't been fishing before or haven't fished for a long time, we're recruiting them back into fishing. So the discussion we have at an industry level at AFTA nowadays is how do we keep these people fishing, because there's no kids sport on at the moment, that they've been excluded from a lot of their other activities. Fishing was a good one for them to come to. We just got to work out how to keep them, and I think tournaments help at the top end of it, but I just think that the time has come for us to lobby government more, I suppose, stronger lobbying to have the facilities to take these people. During COVID, during the lockdowns, fishing was one of the few things you could do. you couldn't get a car park at any of the boat ramps, from Sydney to Brisbane. So that lack of facilities, for the amount of tax money that fishing and boating contributes, we'd probably need a little bit more of that back so that we can keep doing what we like doing safely.
Yeah, it's funny because there are some dealers in the United States have had the best 4 months than they've had in the last 10 years.
Yep.
And they're selling everything, secondhand, 5-year-old kayaks, warranty, whatever it is. And the same with the tackle industry. I tried to buy a brand new Vexus boat, and there's like a 3-month wait, and you just can't get it. And that's all it is to it. So it's funny, but I think the key thing now, like you said, is trying to keep that momentum of fishing, especially recreational fishing, of how to keep these kids, how to keep these young families together fishing, whether it be more facilities, more infrastructure. There's got a lot that I think AFTA can do, and I know obviously the fishing organizations here are doing the same thing. The registration rates are just through the roof, so the income that they're getting is they've got a cash everywhere. Now we got to find something to do it going into next year and find out where we end up at.
Yeah, look, it's good. And AFTA's in a good place. We've got an ex-politician, Bob Baldwin, who is a great, you're not allowed to call him a lobbyist, they're an advocate for rec fishing. And he was quite instrumental in getting a lot of local and state governments to allow fishing because of its inherent social distancing and its mental health and physical health benefits for us. So I think we're all headed in the right direction here. And apart from the fact that we've had this little issue in Victoria, and let's face it, there are going to be more of these issues moving forward. We just have to be very agile as a business and as a fishing community. And when we have the chance to do something, let's do it. Let's be grateful that we can do it. And it's a new normal for us.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, the whole thing is with all these, it's just you're going to get more cases of it. There's, I think, 80,000 people die from flu each year, and it's just part of it. It is something to reckon with, but more cases don't necessarily mean there are more deaths, but I don't want to harp on that. Just looking after this, when things get back to normal, as Chris said, there'll be some new normals in here of people looking after themselves and washing their hands and staying a bit apart. But I'll tell you what, there are so many people who have taken up water sports right now. On the river I'm at here, everything going down the river is brand new. So prior to even the USA government stimulus, things were going through the roof because you could only go on the water, basically. And you bought whatever you wanted, an inner tube, a stand-up paddleboard, a power boat, or a kayak. And, the problem is now is a lot of the manufacturers, they can't keep up, and that's a good cash for them at the wrong time of year. So it's going to be interesting how this pans out and how it goes through. Chris, how is the kayak dealers in Australia doing as a whole, your Hobie guys?
Yeah, look, I mean, much the same as exactly what you just said, the ability, whether it's a shipping or a production side of things, like we've had some dealers now in the network that, exactly as you just said, have experienced highs like we haven't seen for a good 10 years. Obviously, the Victorian guys suffered a little more than, let's say, the Queensland guys in the first part of this pandemic. But at least now I think the Victorian government have actually got this part of this next stage right. It looks as though boat ramps and the like are open down there. They can actually get on the water. They can go and have a fish, social distancing in place. And I think that's going to definitely help the guys in the southern states. Certainly throughout New South Wales, it's the same story that we're having with a lot of the dealers right now, is that guys, sit tight with us. There's only this amount of product coming in, but we've been able to move through some inventory here into dealership networks, and I think as a couple of the guys have seen, we had a couple of things out of I don't know, the Ark somewhere that we found that have gone out into the industry. So right now, I mean, you can almost sell ice to an Eskimo. It's an interesting side of the industry that we probably haven't seen for a few years. But as a whole, I think our network is genuinely healthy. The Hobie brand is ridiculously healthy. Whether it's something in sailboats, stand-up paddleboards, or kayaks, it's just go, go, go. And then obviously the Eclipse product that we have out there on the water. I know that the guys up at Hunter Water Sports there in Belmont had an absolute boom on those. Gordon up at Sun State Hobies had an absolute boom on them. Morgo, whatever's in the water in Queensland up, mate, there, just top it up a little bit more. The Queenslanders are just lapping it up right now. So there's obviously a lot to be said about time of year obviously access to waterways. And I think if a few of our other states followed a little bit more of that, I mean, just get out there and do it. If this pandemic's taught us anything, is the value of obviously that social side of what we are, which we keep talking about, but also family time. I mean, this has brought so many more families closer together, and there's probably no better way as a family network is just to get out on the water together. So whether it's a boat, a kayak, a sailboat, just get out there and enjoy it. We've definitely got some of the best toys to do that with. I
tell you what, Chris, the secret to it all is you've got to have football teams that are doing dead set rubbish. Have you seen how poor the Broncos are going at the moment? No one wants to watch the footy. They want to get away from that, the furthest part away from that's on the ground.
Go the Broncos.
Mate, but the same thing is the guys in Victoria now, like I was talking to Scotty Lovick down there, he's just like, mate, we haven't had any footy. So the people aren't glued to the tube. They're not down at the SCG. They're going, oh, hang on a minute. Let's get out on the water. So, Victorian government, stick with what you're doing. Let these people on the water and let them go out and enjoy themselves within the, obviously the guidelines that are there. So, we will continue to do the very best that we can for our network. Obviously, the way that the network represents the end user, supports the end user. We're doing everything that we can, and it's just the same whether it's, Mercury or, Power Pole, Daiwa, Lowrance, all of the guys that we're involved with. I mean, I know from a manufacturing and distribution point of view, we're equally as frustrated. And if there was anything more that we could do, we would. But, plan ahead, guys and girls. I mean, if you don't have it, you can't use it. That's the hard part about this. So, get out there, take your hands into your pockets, grab your wallet out and go and see your local dealer.
Well, I know Lowrance are pretty low on product. Power Pole backward my stuff, so there's pretty in there. The only thing is, if you do need some kayaks, Chris, I do know Jero just got another container.
Hey, you're going to open up a can of worms here. There might have been a few conversations floating around about that. Giro, don't post those videos anymore.
All right, before we introduce this next guest, I'm going to go ahead and play something as a proper intro for the next guy here, and then we'll come back and talk.
What a fantastic morning here. The sunrise is just going to come up in a minute, and it's going to absolutely round off what to me has been a fantastic event, Hobie Fishing Worlds 8 in Australia on the Gold Coast.
I'm just going to do the same thing I did yesterday and just got to wait for that tide and grind it out. They just got to wait for the fish to come in with the tide. That's it.
Mate, game day, game on. Mate, I'm all set to go. Ready for 1,000 casts. Keep casting, keep in contact with the lure. Hopefully come home with the big one.
Same plan. I'll head south down in the rain. Hicko, I've got some areas where we have unfished waters, so we go through there and we'll pick up a bag, fingers crossed, 3 or 4 fish every 4 casts sort of thing, and then, hopefully we can upgrade from there. There's a few big ones down there, which I was lucky enough to look into yesterday. I hope I can do it again today.
We're back.
It's been a year.
And with that, I'd like to introduce the current Hobie Fishing World Champion, Mr. Andrew Deeth. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, very good. Definitely goosebumps watching that again. And I saw Simon holding the banana up and just wondered whether that had anything to do with that. But yeah, definitely so good to see that.
I tell you what, that clip in there, I think Morgan just had his skills were unbelievable. That shot of the drone down of going through the line. Hats off to you, Steve. Some fantastic media coverage you gave us through here. It's still, I think, one of the best events we did with your broadcast through the bump tub. And I'll always remember that little quote I can hear in the background. You had Andrew Deeth there, and you said you came into the lead with a 150-gram lead, and that bag looked like 150 grams light. And it was just a classic back and forth between you guys. Do you still have that buzz that you had in there? Is it kind of worn off a little bit, or?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the weigh and that moment where I think it'd taken maybe 45 or 50 minutes for that weigh, and it all comes down to that one moment. And yeah, just not knowing, feeling pretty happy that I had 150 grams on Simon before we went into the weigh-in. But yeah, just waiting for those final couple of bags to drop was nerve-wracking and exciting and all those things together.
It was one of the closest finishes I had. But what I really enjoyed about that whole series, other than you winning, is the fact that the internationals caught fish. I was really hesitant about the Gold Coast. It had probably the greatest location, easiest accommodation. Brim were there, but they can be spread out a little bit. But after that pre-fish, you're getting guys from, China was in there, in the United States. Everyone caught fish. I could not believe how good the Gold Coast fished, and that window of weather that we had, you can't pick that anywhere. It's rare to have a tournament for 4-day tournament, or 5 days in this case with the 2 days of pre-fish, to not get blown off the water or rained out, etc. So you didn't obviously know you win it till the very, very end, because the weights were very, very close on this one on there. I even stuffed up on stage with the first or second and third place between Jack Cammie and Simon Morley. I was that rattled with your win. It was pretty good and very exciting day for it. Now, that's your living room in the background there?
Yeah, this is in my lounge room. I've still got the banner up, which I figure needs to stay there until I'm not the current champ. So, yeah, thanks to COVID, I'm probably going to get close to 2 years out of it, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, since we're going to Sweden, all they need to do is open up the airlines. We need to talk to Alan Jones or Joyce to get Qantas to start flying back and forth. I don't have any hope for Virgin right now. And to get you guys there, I think that is going to happen. I think on our next live stream, not jumping out here, we're going to announce the teams for Hobie Fishing World's number 9, which is here, the Australian team, the USA. We'll get AJ back. We'll get, obviously, Chris and Jero to announce the teams and all those numbers in here. What was your best takeaway other than winning of that Gold Coast event?
Best takeaway? Oh, it was good to be just a part of something, I guess, so big within our fishing community, with all the countries coming together. I'd not been a part of the Worlds before, so just getting to meet a whole lot of new guys, a lot of the Americans and the Brazilians and what have you. It was just good to meet new people and hang out. And like you said earlier, the week up there was sensational on the Gold Coast. Weather this time of year, so down in Sydney, it's pretty cold this time of year. Up there, it was just beautiful. So just a great place, great location to have that world event. Yeah.
I got a kick out of the boat ride at nighttime with Boom Boom and some of the Euro guys doing the dance. It was getting crazy. It was just a perfect event all around. I mean, it's going to be a hard event to beat as far as the coverage, the location, Morgan's media work, and just how it all panned out. That is going to be a very, very difficult one. At least Sweden is an easy one as far as we're right there. I know the fishing's good that time of year. It's just now trying to get that broadcast. And the nice thing about Sweden, they do 100+ megabits a second Wi-Fi throughout the whole area. So cameras, I know I've been talking with Steve Morgan for the last kind of 6 months, waiting for some new technology to come out that's affordable to try to take and do some cams and things this way. Now, during this time that you got after the Worlds, like a lot of anglers, you took a bit of a break from fishing. Some was voluntary, others with the COVID. What have you been doing with your off time now?
Well, a couple of things. I have done some fishing. I've just gone away from the Brim scene and chased some mulloway, so chased some bigger fish. Jumped on the new 360 kayaks. I've been putting that through its paces and trying to get used to being in a pro angler versus an outback. So that's been good. I've also got a new girlfriend, so that's new to a lot of you guys who have not only known me for 10 years or so. So that's been a bit of a change as well.
I saw that in some of your notes, and that's why I asked you up front, can we go ahead and throw her under the bus right here or not? And you said, yeah, go for it. That's quite good. Awesome. Now, you said that she went fishing with you and got a very good big cracker of a brim, I think 1.2 or 1.3 kilos, you were saying?
Yeah, that's it. Her first brim on a lure was a 38.5 fork black brim. Run her all around the boat, and she threw the net over. And had I was watching my Miller rod, against the side of the kayak, which was kind of fun. Like a fish that size, just a cracking fish. A lot of people go through a whole lifetime and not catch a fish that big. So to do it first time on I think it was a slim swim, motor slim swim. So there you go. That was actually pretty cool. Like anyone that's tried to help someone else catch a fish, it's always really challenging. So to get such a good fish first go was really cool.
That sounds good. Now, did you keep your Outback? So she has a kayak, or?
Oh, I've got my Outback, but I'm about to sell that. I don't have any room, so that'll go on the market shortly. But we've also got my daughters. We've got a Sport. So she was in a little blue Sport, which is kind of perfect. It means I can get both kayaks in the van. So that's obviously the main thing. And yeah. So the sport's working really well for her.
Sounds really, really good. Now, the surfboard in the background there, has it been wet yet?
Nah, the surfboard, I did look at it. It's a really, really nice board in terms of being a surfboard. I don't think I could, I don't think I'd cope if I dinged it or scratched it up. So it's dry. The only person that has ridden it is I've got a new grandson, and he's had a little go of it, although he wasn't very impressed with it. He just thought but still dry, still shiny. I put the fin in it, so that's pretty cool too. So I can't wet it at this stage.
You've got a pretty good girlfriend who lets you keep that banner up on the wall in the lounge room, mate. That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty good girlfriend. I'm living in different houses. It's probably more up to me at the moment.
At the moment.
So is it the case, watch this space and we can check back in and get later and find out what your living room really looks like?
I think as world champion, you get to keep the banner up. I think that's how it should be.
Boom. That's it.
That is awesome. That sounds good. All right, what we're going to do now, we had a late guy that showed up for. We got AJ order from the Hobie Bass Open Series. This weekend, he's taking a little bit of time off. They're running the event. It's the 11th and 12th of July, and that is on the Mississippi River. We'll put in AJ. And AJ, how you going, man?
Hey, guys. Doing good. Ready to get this tournament going here Saturday and Sunday. We're in La Crosse, Wisconsin on the upper Mississippi River.
How many anglers did you get signed up for it?
Right now we're about 85. It's a little tough this weekend right after our Independence Day holiday, and with a lot of spikes in the corona out here. We're still happy to have a big field, and probably going to break 90, pay out 10 anglers, and it's going to be a big event on a challenging fishery.
That sounds pretty good. I see you've got another event upcoming in the California Delta, and then Lake Darnell, and then it looks like the Coosa River. What are those events going to look like?
Yeah, we're about halfway through our season. Our scheduling was really fortunate this year. We only had to cancel one event through everything, and we're actually about to reschedule an event. I'm not going to give any details out on that yet. We want to make sure we're locked and loaded before we push that out. But California Delta is going to be a really challenging venue with a lot of history. It's a big fish factory, a lot of vegetation. Our only Western stop in the United States. So it gives a chance for all those anglers out there to participate in this national series. And then we hit the central part of the country. Dardanelles, part of the Arkansas River, has a lot of our big professional boat tournaments, and it's the first time a national kayak series event's going there, and it should be a big draw from all over the country. And then we wrap up on the Coosa River, which is a very famed river that kind of starts in Georgia and flows all the way through Alabama, known for big Coosa spots. We're going to be using 2 of the dammed up fisheries and river sections to spread our anglers out, and should have a really awesome wrap up to our season. And for those that don't follow the full, production of what the Bass Open Series is, we end with a event called the Tournament of Champions, and that's going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee, on the Upper Tennessee River. You've got Lake Tellico, Fort Loudon, and 2 river sections that are making that up. That'll be 50 anglers that have earned their way into that. And for all of our international competitors that are following, the top 3 anglers from that Angler of the Year race are who's going to qualify for the Hobie Fishing Worlds 10 from the Bass Open Series this year. So anglers are making points every event. There's starting to be a tight race. We're going to put out 3 quality anglers to represent the United States for Hobie Fishing Worlds 10 through our first year of doing an Angler of the Year race.
That sounds good. Now, I saw your first event after the COVID. It was Kentucky Lake. That had quite a following, and that was a fairly large bit. Good payout on that one.
Yeah, we did. We had 129 anglers, paid out 13 spots. I think first place was $7,000, and really, really well paid throughout the field. That's one of our big goals, is to make sure that 10% of our field that does get paid is going home with a good amount of money, even down to last place. It was our biggest event on Kentucky Lake 7 years running, and it was our second biggest BOS event ever. So I think anglers were excited to get back out. We had some restrictions on what we could do and how we could gather, which was essentially not allowed. And anglers didn't care. They wanted to come, they wanted to compete, and they really did a good job abiding by all of our restrictions and fishing a tough fishery and coming out on top.
Sounds good. Now, one of the things that we have started to do is we're trying to put all the competitive Hobie tournaments under kind of umbrella at hobiefishingworlds.com. We've had a couple guys work on that way. So the guys like yourself from Bass Open, Jared will have his portal, and so will Chris. And people come into the worlds, and they can filter back down through and look at these places around the world of how you qualify for the event. So it's kind of another portal that people can go in. Right now it's kind of fragmented between Facebook and this and that. And we're trying to ring this into one little portal that all the information works through it. So it's really good. I'm really glad that you've taken time to do it. I know you're very, very busy trying to organize all these drive-through prize givings and everything's virtual meetings. And obviously you're using Tourney X. It's a bit difficult. But I think this first one has been pretty good. Our next live stream, we're working on the date. We're going to have Carl Jorgensen. Spoke to Carl today. He's going to join us. We're going to have, obviously, Chris and Jero and AJ back. We're going to announce those countries' teams for Hobie Fishing Worlds 9. We got a few of the guys up our sleeve to try and do it. So we're running now about that 53 minutes, which is more than I thought. But I think for our first time on here, and Steve playing with some new software, it seems to have worked. It hasn't dropped out. We're running on multiple platforms, and at least it's one guy to do it. So many, many thanks to everyone who's taken the time to log on. Steve Morgan, thank you very much. Andrew, well done on being current champion. AJ for sneaking in. Chris Purnell from Hobie Fishing Australia. And also from Jero. How's that vodka going? Is it still good, or is it?
Pretty good. It's empty. I got to go.
That's a good sign to go then. All right then. So the website's at the bottom, hobiefishingworlds.com. That's where you need the new portal. And I'll be updating some of the Bass Open Series, some of the photos and results they're putting up. And then I think Chris and Jero are going to start putting some data in there. So all those guys who've logged back on, and we had a very good following on YouTube and all on Facebook. Many thanks for doing it. Give us some feedback. Let us know what we can do next time. Or if there's some special guest speakers that you want us to bring on, by all means, give us a shout. So with that, I'm going to say a good evening to you all, and have a fantastic day. And thanks to all the guest speakers.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Steve.
And good night.
All right, we'll speak to everyone soon.
Took and